You know that feeling when you're scrolling through Amazon at 2 a.m. and you see something that makes you think, oh, I need that. And then 3 months later, you find it buried in a closet somewhere, still in the box? Picture this. You're standing in your garage, looking at thousands of dollars worth of stuff you barely use, while your credit card statement shows minimum payments that never seem to shrink. My name is Andy, and I spend way too much time thinking about money. Honestly, I've made every single one of these mistakes myself. The thing is, we're living through this weird economic moment where prices are higher than ever, but we're also being told to spend our way to happiness more aggressively than ever. And somewhere in between those two forces, our wallets are getting absolutely destroyed by purchases that just don't make sense anymore. So today, I'm going through 10 purchases that used to be smart money moves, but now they're financial quicksand. And I'm not talking about obvious stuff like lottery tickets or payday loans. I'm talking about things that seem reasonable, that your parents probably told you to buy, that financial advisors used to recommend, but the math has changed. And if you're still making these purchases, you're basically lighting money on fire. Let's start with the big one that's probably sitting in your driveway right now. New cars. Here's the thing about new cars in 2025. They're not just expensive anymore, they're economically insane. The average new car payment is now $738 per month. $738. That's $8,856 per year. Most people are financing these things for 6, 7, even 8 years now. But here's where it gets really ugly. That shiny new car loses about 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. So if you bought a $40,000 car, you just lost $8,000 in the first 10 minutes of ownership. Then it loses another 15-20% in the first year. So by year 2, your $40,000 car is worth maybe $25,000, but you still owe $35,000 on it. I mean, think about it. You're paying premium prices for something that's guaranteed to become worthless. It's like buying a house that you know is going to burn down. Now, the psychological trap here is identity. We think our car says something about who we are, about our success, about our status. But here's what your car payment actually says. It says you're prioritizing appearing wealthy over actually becoming wealthy. And there's a massive difference. A study from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis found that the median net worth of families who buy used cars versus new cars differs by about $42,000. That's not because used car buyers make more money, it's because they're not throwing money away on depreciation. Think of it like this. Buying a new car is like filling a bucket with water, but the bucket has a giant hole in the bottom. You can keep pouring money in, but it's never going to fill up. Buying a reliable used car that's maybe 3 to 5 years old. That's like fixing the hole first, then filling the bucket. Here's the practical play. Buy a 3 to 5-year-old Honda Civic, Toyota Camry, or Mazda 3. Pay cash if you can, or finance as little as possible. You'll get 80% of the reliability and features for 50% of the cost. And that $400, $500 per month you're not spending on a car payment, that's $6,000 per year that can go into an index fund and actually grow instead of disappearing. But cars aren't the only place where we're getting crushed by depreciation. Brand new electronics every release cycle. Quick pause here if this is making sense so far. Hit that subscribe button and give this a like. It genuinely helps the channel keep producing this kind of content. All right, back to electronics. The iPhone 16 Pro starts at $1,200. The iPhone 15 Pro, which is basically identical for 99% of users, can be found for around $700 used. That's $500 difference for what? A slightly better camera you'll never notice, and a processor that's 10% faster for apps that were already instant? Here's the brutal math. If you upgrade your phone every year and always buy the latest model, you're spending about $800 to $900 per year on phones. That's $900 per year on a device that does the exact same things as a phone from 3 years ago. Over a decade, that's $9,000. And it's not just phones. Gaming consoles, laptops, tablets, smartwatches, earbuds. The tech industry has trained us to think that last year's model is somehow obsolete. But the performance gains between generations are smaller than they've ever been. The psychological trick here is FOMO, fear of missing out on features you don't actually need. But here's what you're really missing out on: compound growth. That $9,000 over 10 years, if invested in the S&P 500 at historical returns, becomes about $23,000. The smart play? Buy electronics that are 1 or 2 generations behind and only upgrade when your current device actually stops working. Not when it gets slow, not when the new one looks prettier, but when it literally won't turn on anymore. And speaking of things that don't turn on anymore, extended warranties on everything. This one drives me crazy because extended warranties feel responsible. They feel like insurance, but they're actually one of the worst financial products you can buy. Here's why. Retailers make enormous profits on extended warranties. We're talking 50–80% profit margins. That means for every dollar you spend on an extended warranty, only 20 to 50 cents is actually going toward potential repairs. The rest is pure profit. Best Buy's extended warranty revenue is over $1.5 billion per year. That's not because they're paying out $1.5 billion in repairs. That's because people are paying $1.5 billion for coverage they're probably never going to use. The math gets worse when you realize that most extended warranties have deductibles, exclusions, and requirements that make them almost useless when you actually need them. Your laptop breaks? Well, water damage isn't covered. Your TV stops working? Sorry, that's considered normal wear and tear. Here's the better strategy. Take the money you would have spent on extended warranties and put it in a separate savings account. Call it your stuff breaks fund. For most people, this comes out to maybe $200 to $300 per year. But instead of giving that money to a warranty company, you keep it. And when something actually breaks, you use your own money to fix or replace it. The beautiful part is, most stuff doesn't break within the extended warranty period anyway, so you end up keeping most of that $200 to $300 per year. Over time, you build up a nice cushion for when things actually do break. Plus, you earn interest on the money instead of giving it away, which brings us to another place where we're giving money away without realizing it. Premium cable and streaming packages. The average American household spends $273 per month on television and streaming services. $273. That's $3,276 per year to watch TV. And here's the kicker. Most people use maybe 10% of what they're paying for. You've got cable with 500 channels, but you watch maybe 6 of them. You've got Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Apple TV+, Paramount+, and 3 other services you forgot you're subscribed to. And you're watching the same 4 shows on rotation. The psychology here is abundance mentality gone wrong. We think having access to everything means we're getting value, but we're actually getting overwhelmed and overspending. Basic streaming services cost about $8 to $15 per month each. Premium cable runs $80 to $150 per month. But if you really audit what you actually watch, you probably need 2, maybe 3 streaming services tops. That drops your monthly cost from $273 to maybe $40, $233 per month, or $2,796 per year back in your pocket. Invested over 20 years, that's over $150,000. You're literally paying $150,000 for the privilege of having shows available that you never watch. Here's the practical play. Most people find they can get everything they actually want for under $50 per month. But streaming services aren't the only subscriptions that are quietly draining our accounts. Gym memberships you don't use. The gym industry is built on a simple business model. Sign up as many people as possible and hope they don't show up. The average gym operates at about 10% capacity even during peak hours because they know most members will pay for months or years without coming in. The average gym membership costs about $58 per month, but studies show that 67% of people with gym memberships never actually use them. That means the majority of people are paying $696 per year for a service they never use. It's like paying rent on an apartment you never sleep in. And here's the psychological trap. We buy gym memberships based on who we think we're going to become, not who we actually are. We imagine ourselves as the person who goes to the gym 5 times per week, but we're actually the person who goes 5 times total. That's $233 per month, or $2,796 per year back in your pocket. Invested over 20 years, that's over $150,000. You're literally paying $150,000 for the privilege of having shows available that you never watch. Or, here's a crazy idea. You could just go outside and walk. It's free. Revolutionary concept, I know. The smart financial play is to only pay for fitness options you've already proven you'll use consistently. Been going to the same gym 3 times per week for 6 months? Great! Keep the membership. Signed up in January and it's now March and you've been twice? Cancel it. Speaking of things we pay for that we don't use, premium gas for regular cars. This one is just pure marketing manipulation. Unless your car's manual specifically requires premium gas, you're literally throwing money away at the pump. The average price difference between regular and premium gas is about 50 cents per gallon. For someone who drives 12,000 miles per year and gets 25 miles per gallon, that's an extra $240 per year for absolutely zero benefit. Zero. Your engine won't run better, your car won't last longer, you won't get better fuel economy. The only thing you'll get is the psychological satisfaction of thinking you're treating your car better while actually treating your wallet worse. Car manufacturers are required by law to design engines that run optimally on regular unleaded gas unless they specifically state otherwise. So when you put premium in a car designed for regular, it's like buying organic water. It might make you feel better, but chemically you're paying extra for the exact same thing. Here's what that $240 per year looks like over time. Invested in the stock market for 30 years, it becomes about $24,000. You could literally buy a nice used car with the money you waste on premium gas. The exception is if you drive a genuine performance car that requires premium fuel. But even then, read your manual carefully. It probably says premium recommended, not premium required. And if you're driving a Honda Civic or Toyota Camry, premium gas is just expensive placebos for your car. Which brings us to another automotive money trap: comprehensive insurance on old cars. Here's a scenario that plays out thousands of times every day. Someone owns a 2008 Honda Accord worth maybe $4,000, but they're paying $150 per month for full coverage insurance because, well, that's what you're supposed to do, right? Wrong. If your car is worth less than $5,000, comprehensive and collision coverage is usually a bad bet. Here's why: insurance companies don't care what you paid for your car or what it means to you. They care what it's worth on the market right now. So when your $4,000 car gets stolen or totaled, they're going to cut you a check for $4,000 minus your deductible. Let's say your deductible is $1,000. That means you're paying $1,800 per year for coverage that would give you a maximum payout of $3,000. And that's only if your car gets completely destroyed. Most claims are for smaller amounts. You'd be better off dropping the comprehensive and collision coverage, keeping just the liability insurance that's legally required, and putting that $100 per month into a car replacement fund. In less than 2 years, you'd have more money saved than your car is worth. Now, this doesn't apply to newer cars or expensive cars where the replacement cost is significantly higher than what you're paying in premiums. But for older, lower-value vehicles, comprehensive coverage is basically a subscription service to feel protected while actually losing money. The smart play is to run the numbers. If your car is worth less than what you'd pay in premiums over 2 years, drop the comprehensive coverage and self-insure. And while we're talking about self-insurance, bottled water. This one seems small, but small expenses add up to big problems. The average American spends about 346 liters per year on bottled water. That doesn't sound like much until you realize you can get the same water from your tap for about $2 per year. I mean, think about this logically. You're paying 1,000 times more for something that's often literally the same as what comes out of your faucet. Many bottled water brands are just municipal water that's been filtered and put in a plastic bottle. But here's the really crazy part: that $346 per year invested over 30 years becomes about $34,000. You could buy a nice car with the money most people spend on water over their lifetime. But my tap water tastes bad, you say. Fine. Buy a $50 water filter and replace the cartridges every few months. Your total annual cost? Maybe $30. You've just saved $360 per year and reduced plastic waste. The psychology here is convenience and perceived purity. We think bottled water is somehow cleaner or healthier. But in most developed countries, tap water is actually more regulated and tested than bottled water. This is just one example of how marketing has convinced us to pay premium prices for basic necessities, which brings us to the next one: name brand medications. This one is huge, especially if you're dealing with any kind of chronic condition. Brand name prescription drugs can cost 10 to 50 times more than their generic equivalents, even though they contain the exact same active ingredients. The FDA requires generic drugs to have the same active ingredient, strength, dosage form, and route of administration as brand name drugs. They have to prove they work the same way in the body. Literally, the only differences are things like color, shape, and packaging. Yet people spend thousands of dollars more per year on brand names because they think generic drugs are somehow inferior. A month's supply of brand name Lipitor costs about $350. Generic atorvastatin, which is chemically identical, costs about $15. Same drug, 95% price difference. Over a year, that's $4,020 versus $180. That's $3,840 per year for literally nothing except brand recognition. If you're taking multiple medications, these costs can easily reach $10,000 to $20,000 per year in unnecessary expenses. The smart financial play is simple. Always ask your doctor and pharmacist about generic alternatives. The only time you should pay for brand names is if you've tried the generic version and had specific adverse reactions, which is extremely rare. And speaking of healthcare expenses, expensive workout classes and personal training. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for fitness. But $200 per month for boutique fitness classes? $150 per session for personal training? The math doesn't work unless you're making serious money or you have very specific athletic goals. The average person spends about $1,800 per year on fitness classes and personal training. That's money that could fund a Roth IRA contribution. And here's the thing about fitness. Consistency matters more than intensity or expense. A $20 per month Planet Fitness membership gets you access to all the equipment you need to get in excellent shape. YouTube has thousands of free workout videos that are better than most paid classes. Running outside costs nothing and is one of the best forms of exercise you can do. The expensive fitness industry preys on our desire for shortcuts and community. We think paying more means we'll get better results or we'll actually stick to the routine. But studies show that the most important factor in fitness success is consistency, not the price point of your workout. Here's the practical approach. Start with free or cheap options and only upgrade if you've proven you'll stick with it. Been running consistently for 6 months? Maybe invest in a gym membership. Been doing bodyweight exercises at home for a year? Maybe consider some equipment or classes. But don't start with the expensive stuff hoping it will motivate you. Motivation is internal, and it doesn't come from your wallet. So there you have it, 10 purchases that made sense in the past but are financial quicksand in 2025. The connecting thread here isn't just that these things are expensive, it's that they represent a mindset shift we all need to make. We're living in an era where companies have gotten incredibly sophisticated at separating us from our money for things we don't actually need. If this video gave you that one aha moment about where your money's been disappearing, if it helped you realize you might be throwing away thousands of dollars per year without thinking about it, please hit that subscribe button and give this a like. It really helps the channel keep running and producing this kind of deep dive content. Now, if you want to learn about the purchases that actually do make financial sense in 2025, the things that will build wealth instead of destroying it, you'll want to watch this video next at the top of your screen. We're going to cover the specific investments and purchases that the wealthy make to get wealthier, while everyone else is stuck buying the stuff we just talked about. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.